Baby, we sponsoring up today, babe. I said we sponsoring up today.
I know.
We got the sub.
Oh,
the Subway.
That's my thing on a Thursday.
Oh, yeah?
The sub. Well, you know that.
So you were sneaking that. You had them here?
Sometimes I bring it here, like how I'm eating on air right now. Or I'll wait until after I knock off and go get it.
Okay.
That's my thing.
The sub. Yeah, man. So why don't you do this now? Let's say a shout out to our sponsors. You got Subway. You do your thing. You got Bristol Cellars, Bristol Wines and Spirits. Sorry.
I could do it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you want to go one
I'll
for
do it
one?
until you finish swallowing.
I'll go Roman meal bread. John Bull Business
I'll
Center.
do the hmms.
Kelly's. He said Bristol Wines and Spirits. Wendy's, of course, your favorite place. KFC, one of my favorite places. Burger King. I'm so sad they moved from Cable Beach. Heineken.
Georgie, get it together, man.
Y'all need to go back out Cable Beach. I don't know why y'all do that.
I don't know, Whopper withdrawal.
Heineken. You having a Heineken withdrawal? Heineken?
Yeah, Heineken.
That's how you pronounce it, eh?
That's how we said it.
Heineken?
Not Heineken.
Heineken.
Heineken, of course.
Coca-Cola, your favorite. Superwash, Ken's favorite. Insurance management, of course, we said Subway. Shorewin, Arawak Homes for your own home. And finally, Sunshine Insurance, Saturday hours coming September 1st at our Carmichael Road location. So look out for that. September 1st, Saturday hours, 10 to 1 p.m.
There you go. And don't forget that Kelly's back to school stuff all the way into August. What's it? You had a sniffle?
No.
Probably the hot sauce.
Soda and the peppers.
Okay. Yeah, you got that back to school sale. Got to have the BTS.
That's the headquarters now for back to school. Eh?
It is?
No, I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's like unofficial headquarters.
Well, it's a big store. You know what I mean?
Everybody goes
you
to
go
Kelly's.
there, Kelly. Listen, I used to go to Kelly's when I was in the home improvement mode. When you're first moving in. You know, every day, and then I lived not far from there, so I'd go there like 2-3 times. Go to 2-3 times on one Saturday.
You can spend up all your money.
Well, no, it's just that you need something, then you got to go back for the screw, and then you got to go back for the Allen wrench, and then you got to go back.
Well, you're not a good planner because you.
Well, no, because I didn't know nothing about no Allen wrench.
You would have.
Okay,
you open up the box.
Yourself? Yeah, you do. You open up the box to put something up. You figure you have a screwdriver and a Phillips and a straight head. You're straight.
No.
But no, they want to throw Allen wrench on you. You know about Allen wrench, Ken? Yeah, man.
Ken is a man.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm a horse.
Real man.
Yeah.
So
why are you so? Why you like to down me?
I wasn't downing you.
No, it's an indirect.
You know what? You have a problem with your self-esteem.
He's a man because I don't know about Allen wrench. I'm not a man.
And you know what?
That's the implication.
On my brother's grave, that wasn't even a dig at you. I was like, he's a man. He knows, but that wasn't a dig at you.
It's by implication.
You know a lot of stuff. Don't you know how to
drive?
Am I a man? Yes.
Okay.
Don't you know how to drive stick shift? I always say that's so manly.
Yeah,
yes.
but no one's driving stick shifts.
I don't know.
Okay.
Nobody's using Allen wrenches at the moment.
But the mere fact that I know about an Allen wrench.
So that's one thing you don't know about.
I didn't know. I know about it now. I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
You know about ratchet?
You
don't know about no ratchet.
I know, but ratchet is relates to reality shows.
I'm not. Anyway, listen, I wanted to show a shout out to, we always, but there's a couple of things. It's a yin and yang. So, the first one is, I got to throw a shout out to Mr. Hudson and the people down, Michael Colby, down at Road Traffic Department, man. I had an emergency situation. And to be honest with you, it seemed like their regular process. I could be wrong. I mean, I did call ahead. But basically, there was no one that I took a picture. I had to take a picture, and then they, paid, and then they waited online. And while they, I think they should make their accommodations a little bit more comfortable. It's always, you got a stadium. It's almost like makeshift.
I've never been in there to get my
those
car.
benches where they put the legs and it have like a V at the bottom. You know what I mean?
No.
You know what I mean, right, Kat? Like the piece of wood that is the leg. You have like a V. It's a piece of wood, but a V.
No, what's your point?
It's just makeshift. It looks like something in a woodwork school. The bench that they, anyway. But they had one thing was working. But listen, I was in panic, man, and I managed to get that driver's license in the regular process in 30 minutes. I mean, I had to wait. I had to wait for. It wasn't like I they push me ahead of the line because the system doesn't even allow for that.
Yeah, but you could.
Once it's in the
That's
queue.
the place they send you to the stadium if you need your license right now. Like if you the one at Carmichael, they would give it to you like the next day or maybe 2 days later. But the stadium, you get it the same time.
I ain't fooling with no Carmichael.
Carmichael is great.
You better live on Carmichael.
No man, Carmichael is great, and that's close to the.
Let me make a public announcement. If you don't belong on Carmichael Road, don't go there.
That's not true.
If you do not, I'm talking about period. I'm talking about just the road traffic.
No,
Listen to me.
you're talking about the traffic on Carmichael.
If you don't have any business being in Carmichael, don't do
Depends
it.
on what part. If you come in from like Gladstone Road and then you're coming up to like road traffic, it's smooth sailing.
Well, I don't know where road traffic is. Where's road
See,
traffic?
that's the problem.
Where is it? In the Inland Revenue Building?
Behind,
No. Sorry.
In there and then I'm telling you.
It is back up before that.
You don't come from Gladstone
I
Road.
do.
Wait.
If you come from Gladstone Road at a certain point, because that's where your boy did the sir on me. I know about that.
I've never had a bad experience.
You know
going
they
up
talk
there.
about the sir, right?
Yeah.
For the tire.
Yeah, I know.
I'm having a lot of problems with tires. I just came from the airport. I land in the plane. I'm ready to go home. I had a rough night because I got held overnight. I get in the car, and the damn, what you call it? The gauge. You know, they have these electronic gauges now that tell you when there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
When you see one on your gauge, that's a tire.
Mm-hmm.
No matter how you try to wake that in your mind, one is never good.
So you changed it?
So I went outside because I'm not a man.
I was just
I
gonna
went
say,
outside.
you're just gonna prove that you
I
don't
went
have to change no
outside. I
tire.
went outside, and the tire was flat out of one. Ken, I don't know why you're laughing, because let me tell you something, man. You know how they make these cars now, right? I don't know how old you are. When I was growing up, you had a jack. You know, it was on that pole. You put it on your bumper because they had real bumpers. You jack up your car. You change your tire. The tire was in the back trunk. You pull it up. Now, it takes about a half hour to unwind the tire.
Mm-hmm.
Like on a string.
Yeah.
So I fool him with that.
So who did it?
I call my man Gordon.
You got a real man.
Yeah,
to come and do it.
yeah. I can chap you, you know.
But you just
I
proven.
wish I'm saying this directly. I wish you choke a little bit on the sandwich. I'll
On my
save you.
Subway sandwich?
Yeah, I'll save you, but I wish you choke a little bit. Okay? And I can wait for about 15 seconds, to be blue. No, but I know no fake choke. Yeah, keep on doing that. See? Yeah, I can see how bad it is. No, I'm not coming to save you. No, Ken, don't try that. See, look and see now. See, that's where she's smiling. She's dead now. She's dead. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be doing the show alone today because Rogan Smith has passed. Okay? So I'm not fooling around with you.
Kendrick, I give you props for at least coming to my aid.
I stop him.
What if I really were
Because a
choking
man
and
wouldn't be fooled by that.
A real man come to my aid.
No, a real man would not be fooled by that.
Oh.
Okay? So anyway, had a lot of problems with the flat tires. So
Yeah.
Gordon, I want to thank Gordon for coming by and
A real man.
fixing it. Yeah, a real man who would get paid.
That's all right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I wish
you
you'd
had a
choke
good
on
trip
that
though,
tissue. Huh?
But you had a good trip though.
It was okay. Yeah, it was good. But it's just hassle. Traveling is a hassle.
I love traveling.
Now, on the yang of
It's
that,
crazy.
on the yang, did I do the yang or the yang?
I don't
Whatever.
know.
So I won't say where it was, but there's a public project going on, Roadworks, okay? And, okay. Now they're taking a break. It's like 4:30, because they have to wait for the traffic to move, and then they're going to finish it off, right? Now, I can't say for sure. That's why I'm not calling the name of the project, if this is the case, right? But look here. You just wait to Sunshine, right?
Yes.
Okay. You just wait to Tribune. I just wait to the thing up. Now, at 4:40, you allowed to have, and this goes to our sponsors, a cold collect. Are you allowed that? Do they have they have siestas in some places?
You have a beer
Are you
break,
allowed-
like a cigarette break.
So this brother man, he's obviously, because he got on the West. You know them fluorescent West? Okay? And he ain't even going with the brown paper bag.
It's full out.
It's full out.
Why you don't take a
And
picture?
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you how
Why you don't
effective
take
he
a
was.
picture?
It's hot, right? I wanted to go get a collect.
It's an advertisement.
It's a cold collect. Ice cold.
For what time?
4:49.
Muddles.
Okay? And he came back to wake. That's what got me.
Oh my god. Why you don't take a picture?
I
He's
didn't have
not supposed
time.
to be doing that.
He's but he wasn't even, it's like, well, I just having a beer.
It's like
We'll be right
cigarette
back.
break. You're too full.
I'm not too full. The word, now you see, I went and got the word.
Yeah,
A
that was
man.
funny.
a man would go and get a piece of wood to make sure his tire, if it bogged down, you put the wood under the tire. You know about that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I used to get
smart
stuck
girl.
at Saunders Beach plenty times when I was young. But there was no tire.
So
The wood was just there.
Ain't nothing to help you.
No.
It's your spell.
Anyway, that's the way it is. So listen, we have guests this afternoon, and they're from the Commonwealth Brewery, and they're here to talk about, I think it's the, what are we, 50? 30th anniversary. I'm supposed to know that.
But come on
And the full disclosure, I'm on the board of
That's
Commonwealth
embarrassing.
Brewery. No, it's not embarrassing.
Your disclosure is embarrassing.
And on another, I got a lot of things going on. It's the flat tire. And then the second disclosure, I did their ad.
Yes.
So
We
I
can
should
talk
know
about
this.
that.
I think I said 30 in the ad.
Oh, my God.
But this is to show how detached I am. Huh? Okay, so that's full disclosure. And we got Dennis Hanna today, and we have Tamika. I did get the last name. What was it? Smith. Yeah. That's
popular name.
Yeah, I should have. And from now on, when I don't know what someone's saying, we're just going to say hi, Mrs. Smith. Chances are it's going to be that. And they're both from Commonwealth Brewery. And here to tell us a little bit about. 30 years, Dennis Hanna.
That's a milestone.
Yes, 30 years for the brewery, 30 years for Kalik. And one of the main reasons why we did this documentary is because we haven't told the story of Commonwealth Brewery, all the employees, what they do in order to get these world-class products to the Bahamian public, mainly Kalik. So we're celebrating Kalik, so we thought this is the perfect time on Kalik's 30th birthday to talk about Commonwealth Brewery through a documentary, get the input from staff, consumers, customers, and shareholders like yourself.
And it's so popular because even the fellas, I don't know if you heard me, the fellow doing the road wakes, he's pulling out his cold collect, man. He don't play. He can't wait. Anyway, so now 30 years. Tell us how the name, because it's such a, you go to all of these other countries like Trinidad, they got Carib, Jamaica has Red Stripe, Presidente from Dominican Republic. All they have these names, which are kind of generic. I mean, Carib, okay, Red Stripe, okay, Santa Claus. El Presidente, it doesn't really have a direct association with the country, right? Whereas Kalik, serious stuff. How do we get to that name?
Yeah, I love that question because if you look at the name Kalik, it's actually intrinsically Bahamian. It's
Kalik.
Exactly. So you either know that, or if you don't know that, it's the sound of a cowbell doing a jungle performance. But another thing I would like to add to that is in 1988, we had an employee by the name of Dr. Off. Everybody knows him. Gedden Wolf, or the Rat Bath. Very popular entertainer, but he was also an employee. He came up with the name Kalik.
I didn't know he was an employee.
Exactly. And to tell you how the link is so important is that if you remember Dr. Off, he had a band, but a part of his performance was with live jungle instruments. He had the drum and the cowbells and the horn, in addition to the guitar and the drums and so forth. And he took that to the world.
But wasn't Dr. Off in the beginning of the end? Tyrone Fitzgerald, he wasn't in that group, eh?
Yes.
We have to do the research on that.
Yes, no, you are absolutely right. That's the name.
Yeah.
He is one of the co-writers of Funky Nassau. That's correct. And I think he is actually a cousin of the Bunnings as well. Eh?
Okay.
So they all grew up in, as you know, Centerville. But so yes, he was a part of that group and that popular song.
It's so incredible because Kalik is such a huge part of our culture. I mean, when I think Bahamas, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I do think Kalik because that is the beer we use to celebrate everything. Regattas, Junkanoo, every single thing. That's the beer you reach for. So this is a wonderful milestone for you guys. But, talk about how you've been able to stave off the competition, and still retain that status as the Bahamian beer, the official Bahamian beer, or the unofficial Bahamian beer, but official beer.
Well, it all starts with the product, and that's why Tamika is here. But you have to have the best product. I mean, the name, like we say, is intrinsic. The people connect with it. We support everything that's Bahamian, and we do that through many grants, many promotions, many sponsorship. But you have to have the best possible product. And if you look at any beer in the Bahamas, Kalik is the best. Actually, we have a saying for Kalik. Kalik is the song of great tasting beer. That's the song that we use. So if you think of...
Well, also, it has to be able to fit, you have to be able to apply gamma to it.
Gamma Kalik.
Gamma to Kalik.
You can't. Gamma.
You have to be able to say gamma.
Look at Tamika like, what are you talking about? It just flows,
yeah, see, you
right?
can't say gamma. Once you can say gamma Kalik. Gamma WN. Come on, Colette.
To add to what Ed is saying on why Collect is so successful, if you think back in the 80s, and you would think, like you said, if you said, come to the shop. You know, you go. There's no food store. You got to start. The peanut man, nuts, irie nuts. You know, all these things that were really that we get away from, and that is really Bahamian. Collect was around for that. So you celebrated during the times that things were simple. Like, and one of the things I like to say is, in the 80s, when it was the Nassau International Airport, when you went away, you took 3 days with you. Collect, Gombe Punch,
used to make them, used to make those, I don't know if they do it anymore. Those, I used to always take back the little boxes. You know, those boxes are actually made for rum.
That's right, yeah.
Right? But for some reason, you could fit a case, the cans, you could put a case and carry it like that, right? But also, you know, growing up, you know, I don't know if beer was as popular when I was growing up because you had rum. You know, rum was cheap back then. And so, but you had all these foreign brands. You had Heineken, Lowenbrau, Beck's, the big ones. Okay. And so I think when Kalik came in.
My ex-stepfather, that's all he used to drink.
Polygirl? Yeah. So I think when Kalik came into the marketplace, there was a genuine sense of pride. Yes. You know, for Bahamians to be able to say, this is our things, or as Pam would say, this we things.
Exactly, yeah. and you're right, and that's how it's become an iconic brand because Bahamians embraced it. They drank it. They took it abroad, and you know Bahamians always think everything foreign is better. But for Collect, they did the reverse. Yeah. They took it abroad and said,
Bahamians, when they go away, see, this is what I don't like about Bahamians. When they go a different place, they believe they have to create Nassau there. Okay, so you know when they travel to like an event or whatever, who cooking this house? Who cooking the peas and rice? No, I'm not in Nassau. I don't want any peas and rice. Anyway, okay.
And this is why you have to take Collect.
Yeah, that is so true.
Now, Jamaica, what do you do down at the brewery?
I'm the packaging manager.
Okay, so all of the wraps and all that kind of stuff.
We bottle all the beers, and actually we have 4 packaging lines. 3. Beer line, so we have a can, bottle.
None of which is here right now, by the way.
That's Dennis. That's Dennis. I got to put that one on.
I don't see nothing that we could talk to the people about here.
And we have
I could go by your boy by the roadway. I know he got something.
700's next door.
We patronize it. So you're responsible for like those new logos. I see for Collect they have bottle that represents each island, like New Providence, Abaco. So that's you?
Yeah. So we are the ones who put those labels onto the bottles.
I love that.
They're pretty unique. It's actually pretty cool because I wasn't aware of the different designs until we started a production, and as we looked, and I was like, okay, well, I see a pineapple, I see a crab. What's going on here? Has there been some mistake? And then talking to Queswell, you know, he said, hey, each island is represented, something key about it. So it was really cool.
What's another thing that before we get into talking about what your plans are for the year, is the recycling, because it's so bad. First of all, you can very rarely find a bottle in this town now because, you know, people turn them in for money. But let me tell you how bad it is. I actually caught a guy littering one day. I was in front of him, in back of him. He threw the bottle out. So like an idiot, I parked my car and tried to go and talk to him. Of course, he had pulled up, so I had to run after him. So I gave him the bottle back. I said, excuse me, sir, is this something that belongs to you? And he looked at me obviously in shock, and he said, no, I throw that out because the fellas just picked that up. That's how they make money. So he even had that line, for littering, an excuse.
You know, not to cut you off, but one of the things I have to say I do love about Kalik is your commitment to community, commitment to conservation, and the work that you're doing with the Bahamas National Trust. I think that's very, very important. I mean, how many times have they said Conch and Collect? That's the perfect pairing. They go together. So you know. Well,
actually, you know what they say. It's actually one of the 40 meals to help before you die.
Yeah.
Conch
I've
and
read
Collect.
that.
And that's one of the reasons why we partner with them.
They say that, Dennis?
Yeah,
they
do.
Say
That's an article.
Actually, you can Google it online.
Yeah,
actually.
Years ago.
But I'm glad you brought that up about corporate responsibility, because it's not just giving to charitable groups as well as being we have a responsible campaign with the Ministry of Transport and Aviation, $500 endowment fund, and I can tell you one of the architects of that document is actually here, where we give $50,000 a year to the University of the Bahamas to deserving student. Actually, the lady next door is the intern and the student who's hired, because that's part of it. Not that we just give the money, but we also hire the student, because those are really exceptional people. But as you say, also with the environment. The Bahamas National Trust is, I guess, tasked with the job of educating the Bahamas that conch is actually going to become extinct if we continue to fish it like we are. And so they have this. Exactly. So that's why they have this. They have this initiative, conservation. How do we conserve our conch? And we saw that, and they have this beautiful. I don't know if you've seen the video with all the Bahamian artists. And so what we did for the 30th year, and you say you're going to answer for the 30th year. One of the things we did for the 30th year that goes to our corporate responsibility is to say we're going to give them a grant, and we also have a video, and it's a wonderful video.
I love it too.
That tells about you have to preserve conch, and we are on board with them, and we do other stuff with the environment as well, because we have partnered also with the Rotary, where we do beach cleanups and the work. And also at the brewery, they have strong targets that are lifted every year, that we use less energy, we use less water, we use less electricity. They have KPIs that they have to meet, and that's it's a Heineken mandate, but it's also a CBL mandate that we have to be as responsible and caring and protecting the environment as we produce our product.
Absolutely.
One thing I also want to talk about, Dennis, is the human resources side of things, right? I mean, one of the things I'm intimately aware of is the opportunities for Bahamians. Heineken and Kalik. Heineken is a truly international company. And I think no matter where you go in the world, you're going to find people from all parts of the world working with the Heineken, company. And of course, CBL being a Heineken affiliate. The thing is, you got people who've worked all over the world, from Bahamians who've worked all over the world. I mean, talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, a very good point. For example, we have our former HR director, Denise Barnes, is still working with Heineken. She left here, exceptional director. She's done exceptional things with Heineken. We have
She's now in charge of Heineken HR in Laos.
Exactly. In charge. So
that's the serious place. That's a long way away.
Right. Then we have two employees now. We have 2 employees now who also were away on our back and with the company. So the opportunity to excel here also opens up the world to you, because Heineken is everywhere, not just this region. And like Ed say, Laos, you can go to Vietnam, you name it. Mexico is big; it's probably the second biggest market for Heineken. But I'd like to say this to I don't want people to take that lightly, because people say, oh, you're a Heineken company. Heineken has shareholding with your company. But I can tell you, that's the furthest thing from truth. First, there's 450 employees, only 4 are international, so we're 99% Bahamian. And I'd like to say 2 MDs ago, the managing director, he was a Bahamian, Leroy Archer. So he started at the brewery as a controller, went to Florida, excelled there, and then he became a director, managing director.
But he also was in St. Lucia, right? Yeah.
Yes. So not only are you have opportunities to excel in Heineken, you can excel and go to the top.
Yeah.
The managing director, a Bahamian managing director, ran this company. So the opportunities are limitless. The training is great, the exposure is great, best practices are available. But there are also opportunities for you to just grow. I mean, if you're very aggressive and want to excel.
Dennis, we got to run, but before we do, tell us some of the things, Tamika, what you know of that's going to be happening over the next year to celebrate the 30th anniversary. Yeah.
No.
That question come out so.
Yeah, it's kind of like a lot of 30s. Yeah. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. So the theme for the 30th year.
Okay, Tamika, I was saying.
Yeah, that's like you so slow. I love it. So the theme for Collect on the 30th year anniversary is let's celebrate Bahamian. That's the theme. So the first thing that Tamika explained so wonderfully is to actually put the labels of the 14 major countries on each pair, so we can island, right? So we want to know each island that they're involved. An iconic thing that happens there. Crabs and Andros, the
pineapple and
exactly. So that was the theme. But
what happens in Acklands? Do we have one of them?
Yeah.
It's a test, Dennis.
I know.
If you don't know what's happening, you fail.
No, but let me tell you about the celebration. So after we did the label so that everybody got involved, we have what we call down home celebration, which means that we take a Bahamian concert to iconic places, whether it's Rawson Square, Fox Hill. We've been Fox Hill. We've been Arawaki. We're going to be in Coral Harbor on the 10th, which is tomorrow. But at this concert, this is what you do. There is only Bahamian artists. There is a conch cracking contest. We're going to crack the conch the quickest. There's a pineapple eating contest. There is a crab catching contest. There's free conch salad. There's free collect. So it's giving you that Bahamian experience. And we take it to iconic places that Bahamians come and they enjoy the experience. It's all free, and it's for you to celebrate all things Bahamian. And it goes on till the end of the year. We're going to top off the year with a pop the top. And pop the top means that exactly. Under each bottle of collect, it's either a prize, free beer, or you have these caps that you have to redeem and will put in an envelope, and you can redeem to win $30,000 at the end of October. So it's $30,000 that we will have 10,000 draws.
Well, we should have had some free caps right here, but we don't have that.
I will definitely stop next door.
It's a whole missing experience here.
So it's everything Bahamian. But and conservation, like I said, was also a part of the 30th year celebration, because we want to do, like you said, we have to be the best corporate citizen ever. We have to do more with that. So and the environment is an important
And there's,
part.
of course, you have to look at the responsibility in terms of driving responsible
and
drinking.
We do have a partnership with I'm glad you brought up, Ministry of Transport and Aviation. And it's called If You Drink, Don't Drive.
Yeah.
So it's simple.
Yeah.
If you drink, don't drive.
Yeah.
And so you'll see those billboards going
Not drink a little
exactly.
and drive.
No.
Don't drink.
If you drink, yeah, that's right. You can't drive. You should.
What time is the documentary? Where can we watch it?
Excellent. The documentary's tonight. It's at 8 p.m. on ZNS and Island Luck TV, and at 9 p.m. on RTV.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, well, listen, thank you for coming by. Ran right into the perfect time of the news, got everything out. And, anytime you want to feel by with a couple of cold ones, when you drop by with a couple of cold ones, we here.
I will.
We here.
I will definitely.
You know where we are. Okay, and if you can't make it, just tell the people to put a credit. Just put a credit by Miss Fitzgerald. Okay?
I would like to end with this note. If you drink, and make sure you drink, always do it responsibly.
There you go. Thank you. And we'll see you on one of them down-home things.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fields here along with Rogan Smith. And Rogan Smith implied that I was not a man because I didn't know about Allen Keyes. But I can tell you one thing.
That was an unintentional implication.
Whatever. It doesn't matter. Here's what I can tell you. I don't know if Ken is a man or if you is a woman. But I know one thing. I don't understand nothing about what we can talk about, and you know that's a first. You know that's a first.
I know.
Okay.
I know. We usually are very prepared.
Well, I'm never prepared. But at least I have an idea.
You don't prepare, but you're prepared.
Yeah, I have an idea of what we're talking about. With this particular subject, which is going to be a very interesting kind of tutorial,
yes, that's
so
what
to
it's
speak,
going to be.
is that I have zero understanding. All I will be able to do is ask the questions and try to, see if I can feel comfortable with cyber something. Bobby, okay. Cyber, because right now, like I told you, up until about maybe 6 months ago, I wasn't even going online to do no banking. I need to line up in the bank.
That is so true.
Okay? So the mere fact that I'm trusting my actual money, okay, to go from one account to the next is a big leap for me.
Yeah.
What Jason and Bobby are doing, I have no clue.
Now we're going to
go into
the cryptocurrency realm.
Crypto, that already sounds like a horror movie.
Cryptic.
Okay? Okay? Like Tales from the Crypt.
Right.
Okay, but anyway, so we got Jason Leach and Bobby Chen. Bobby known as formerly in another life. Talking to us about blockchain, which to me sounds like something from Django Unchained, to cryptocurrency, which sounds like the comic books Tales from the Crypt, and Bitcoin and all these other kind of coins what they got going on. So first of all, welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. You got a lot, as we say in the bombs, you got a lot of explaining to do. Okay? You got a lot of explaining to do. What the hell is, well, I don't even know which one to ask first. Blockchain. I don't know what comes
Blockchain
first,
technology?
the cryptocurrency or the blockchain. I don't know what comes
What is the
first.
technology?
Yeah.
behind
So
it?
I guess I'll go first on this.
Yeah, go first on that.
Okay, so blockchain and its very nature is just a distributed ledger to manage permissions for files.
You heard the distributed ledger.
It's a distributed ledger. So I'll give you
Do you
easier
think
way.
Arthur? You think Arthur?
I'll give you an easier
You think
way.
Arthur understand with distributed ledgers?
I'll give you an easier way of thinking about it.
Okay.
Think about us all having an Excel spreadsheet that's opened and it syncs with one another. So
Okay.
any change I make in mine, you could see it in yours, and you
Okay.
could see it in
Okay.
yours.
A
Okay.
shared folder.
A shared file, Excel file.
Okay,
The reason
yeah,
I
yeah.
said an Excel file
Okay.
because I think that's something everyone's familiar
Yes.
with.
Arthur, once again, you're speaking to Arthur out there. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, a shared Excel
Right.
file. Okay.
So now imagine the different rows
Okay,
representing
columns. Uh-huh.
well, rows
Rows,
and columns, right?
rows and columns, okay.
First rows,
Uh-huh.
the different rows represent people, right?
Okay,
So the
okay.
first entry could be your name, and it'd
Okay.
be everyone's name.
All right, headings,
right?
yeah, under the heading people.
Right, and the next column would be the amount of money allocated to that person.
Okay, all right. So
Okay. So what happens
Rogan
is
have $50.
right. So let's say that's now in column A, right? $50.
Right.
Now you send money from her to you,
Right.
That's going to
25.
be represented in an entry in the row.
A debit and a
Well,
credit.
well, sorry, column B,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
So that transfer is going to be represented into a linear chain. So imagine this starting from the left, and you keep moving right.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So as you do transactions, you
Yeah.
just keep going over the next column.
Basic ledger. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
But
Okay.
all distributed,
Right.
right? So anytime.
Everyone has a copy. Has the same copy of that particular ledger,
Yeah.
so that there is no centralized entity to
Like a
kind of
bank.
govern and oversee.
Right.
Right.
And if you want, because it's this giant Excel spreadsheet and you could see the transfer, you could actually go back to the very time that this money was created in the blockchain to however far it is in the actual spreadsheet.
Right.
I'll
So
give this still a little further and give the example of Wikipedia.
Yes.
Right, Wikipedia is a collection of data within a database,
Right.
that everyone has access to. The only exception is it's the data on the database is immutable, meaning that it cannot be retracted and changed and tampered with.
Edited.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But everyone has access to that same database. Everyone can see the information and verify the information. Wikipedia is verified by a collective group of people.
So people
Right.
send
Yeah,
stuff to Wikipedia, they verify it, and then they post it.
Exactly.
And you can't edit it from the viewer's perspective. Okay.
Right.
So the blockchain is basically a general ledger.
yes.
Okay. So I don't know why I would just call it that, but I know you gotta. I know in the world
Arthur
of.
needs to understand that.
There's a reason.
Okay,
right?
tell us the reason.
So ultimately, the reason why you have this concept of a blockchain, it is actually because information, all the transactions that happen per second are grouped together in one block.
Okay.
Right? And then that one block is processed. And that processing is done by miners. So those miners who actually solve the math to verify this block, they're rewarded with tokens. But now once this block is solved, another block comes in.
I almost did the F word, man. I almost did the F word. Okay? Okay?
It's
Because, you know, right now, let me tell you what you got going on right now with me. But so you have to forgive me. You know, I cannot operate those video game things.
This is what this reminds
You know the
me
joystick?
of. Yeah.
You know the joystick and
And
the
the tokens and all that.
and the thing, and there's all kinds of things because I don't spend my life doing this.
I'll give you an example, a real world example with Bitcoin, right?
Okay, yeah.
So Bitcoin currently does 7 transactions a second.
Okay.
Okay. So then now all these transactions are grouped together in a single block. Okay. So all the transactions that are created in a 10-minute interval, that's what the miners are actually verifying with their supercomputers and all this type of stuff. Okay. So in 10-minute intervals, the math is going to be solved and people are given tokens.
But you know what I'm picking up?
And it's a race that happens in 10-minute intervals. This is a 10-minute block, 10-minute. I just need you to understand
I
why it's
understand
called
it.
blockchain.
I understand as much as I want it, but this is what I'm beginning to think. This part, the average person doesn't really need to know, right? It's like I don't really need to know how the banking is working.
Right.
Sure.
Other than it works. Okay? I just need to know when I hit transfer that I can see the debit and she can see the credit.
Well, the reason why I think they do need to know is because this is new
The
technology.
confidence. You want to have
so
people
you
have
want to know
confidence,
that, yeah.
But everyone isn't going to be able to, no matter what
to
you
grasp
do.
it, yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I'm just going to ask you: does the fact that you get into this intricacy actually scare some people away from it? Or, I mean, because a lot of people, it's like the stocks.
Yeah.
I just want to know, okay, Coca-Cola's going up, up and down, right? I don't know all the algorithms and things that they're doing wherever they're doing it because it's too much for me to absorb. I just have to have confidence in the broker house, that these people are credible, responsible, certified, and we'll get to that kind of stuff in a bit, so that I know that if I'm going to invest in them, they're going to be honest with my money. And that I can, and then I have this gauge called the stock exchange that can monitor it for me.
Can I ask just a very rudimentary? How did you even get involved in this?
Interesting question. So that is because of my background. So my background is in computer electrical engineering and computer science, right? So initially this stuff came up.
Computer what again?
Computer engineering, computer science.
Computer, okay. I thought computer electrical.
I'm just
it's high-end
on
stuff.
computers.
That's good stuff.
I'm just big on computers. So as this stuff started happening, they have these documents called white papers, right?
Yeah.
And the non-technical person viewed it, and they couldn't make heads or tails of it.
Right.
But I viewed it, and it made sense to me. Some of the stuff I was actually trying to do, and then I realized, wait, why am I going to try to do this stuff myself when there's a massive community of people trying to solve the exact same problem? It makes far more sense trying to focus and working with this community. And then once you explore that this one project is here and it's connected to this entire macro system of all these other projects, then you start going down the rabbit hole, and then you're just like, wow, this is a glimpse into the future.
Right.
So it's the type of thing where you give it attention, you learn more, and it allows you to see more, so then you go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Let me ask, first of all, what percentage of global transactions to date, and I don't know if I'm using the right measurement, okay, but obviously there's a lot of transactions going on to date through the banking financial system, the traditional conventional system. What percentage of transactions are related to cybercurrency to date as a part of the overall financial transactions world?
So when you're referring to cyber currency, are you referring to like the digital versions of our fiat money or a cryptocurrency?
The cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not much.
Okay. Less than 5% if I had the ballpark.
Less than that.
Way less than 5%.
It's less than that.
A lot of it is undocumented, so it could very well be more, but
right. I mean, you could, just to put things in perspective. So the crypto market space is a little over $300 billion, right? That sounds cool.
300 billion, no, it's trillions and trillions.
Exactly. You look at the global market, you're looking at about $84 trillion.
Right.
So that's not even a drop in the bucket. It's not even something worth considering on the global financial scale.
So what advantages
does
the individual have if right now, okay, I'm safe with just old sucky money, just old crappy transactions, as they are and exist today, and everything's going fine, and I can go to the Marriott, you know what I mean? What are the advantage of making that shift?
So one of the biggest appeals of this money is you have full control over it. Your money in your bank account, you don't have full control over it. If someone decides you can't have access to your money, you don't have your money anymore, right? And on top of that, there's a lot of friction in the existing banking system, and a lot of these financial institutions make their money off the inefficiencies in the system, right? So
like 1/2 cent, for instance, right?
Well, you get charged, let's say 3% on a transaction. For what?
Because that's what they want to do.
It's an oligopoly, and the group of guys in the room decide I take 1.5, you take 1.5, and that's just what we're gonna do.
Right.
Right.
I think it's felt more with overseas transactions. You feel that a little bit more.
Right.
I think you're paying for what you believe is infrastructure. The service. There's a service to do things, right? I mean, if I ask you to put $10 in the stock market for me, you're going to charge me too. Because it's a service. Because I'm not doing it.
I'm doing the transaction.
But I think also you're also paying for, even if it's perceived, some degree of security. I want to say.
Peace of mind.
It really depends on what you're doing. So what I mean by full control, one of the early applications of cryptocurrencies with Bitcoin was in the dark web, right? And that just showed the resilience.
You realize that sounds bad, right? The dark web.
It is bad. Okay. It is bad, right?
Can they change it to the not dark web?
No, it's just a fact, right? Okay. So criminals tend to be pretty savvy. So if they have technology that they could use to have an edge, they will use it. Right. So initially, it was used in this space.
Okay.
And the reason for that is you can't buy drugs online using the traditional system because they're going to prevent your money from going through.
Right.
Okay.
So that's the appeal of this technology. You have this money that you have complete control over, and you can send hundreds of millions of dollars if you want in seconds.
Okay.
And no one can stop it.
Now, what is the value? You know what I'm. You're me thinking of things the same line. Go ahead. You go ahead.
No. I was going to ask him. With that being said, you're talking about cryptocurrency.
That was specifically Bitcoin. That was one of the components into what got Bitcoin to where it is now. And to show the resilience of the technology, you now have America, which is a superpower that has all the resources in the world, trying to stamp it out, and they cannot stamp it out. It's like trying to
stamp out a fire with
brush fire, and then it just catches fire.
Just
right?
feeling it, they just keep feeling
exactly.
it. But here's the thing, and this is where I think, and we'll get into all of the intricacies that we can possibly do based on our knowledge. But this is what I don't understand. We're going to take a break. That's what I don't understand. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to you two guys some more, and then we'll bring in your other colleague in the break after that, okay? Because we got some questions asked. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Jason Leach and Bobby Chen. And I forgot your colleague's name. We'll be with him in a minute. What give us his name? Stefan. Stefan what?
Stefan Delaveau.
You can't get no more Bahamian than that. Now,
I think we're making progress.
Yeah, we're making progress. Listen, because things tie in. So recently, one of the things that intrigued me, and I've been hearing more and more about it, is the rise of the petrodollar. Okay, and how basically everything became tagged to the U.S. dollar because of an arrangement that the Saudis made basically with the U.S. government that you'll only trade in U.S. dollars. What's amazing about that is no one knows that except the people who know it, but everyone is happy with that system. Okay, what you're telling me then is this is a paradigm shift, and while we may not be necessarily comfortable with it now, 10, 15, 20 years from now, everyone won't even know how this came about. It'll just be used.
I would not say wait that long to hop on board. And the reason why is because what this creates is an alternative to the existing monetary system. So people who adopt it first reap more benefits. So this is currently the largest redistribution of wealth ever, right? So you have people who are literally millionaires in bitcoins just because they ran their computer initially around 2010.
They just ran it.
There's a lot of money on the table in the market right now.
So if I decided right now today, by the way, are you Bitcoin brokers?
We do provide those services.
Okay. What's the regulatory, and I know what you're going to say, it's going to be even more scary. What's the regulatory framework surrounding this?
So there isn't one in the Bahamas, right?
They're trying to do that.
Right, there isn't one, but it is interesting because depending on who you're dealing with, you have to deal with the rules from their respective jurisdiction and where you are as well.
So if I'm dealing with you, I'm dealing with no rules.
So like if you and me are here and we're conducting a trade, we have no rules here, so we set up the terms of the arrangement between us, and that's what we agree that we're going to operate by. But then now, if you have a European, right, you have to consider the rules of their respective jurisdiction and also where you are as well. Because now, just because you're not breaking any rules here, doesn't mean you're necessarily not breaking rules over there.
So you're going to have to know the rules for each country.
Who you're dealing with.
It will be the stricter of the two jurisdictions, of the two parties.
Here's an interesting opportunity that I hope I'm seeing, and I hope is real. If I take $1,000 now and I put it in a bank account, I'm getting zero interest. So the appreciation value on that money is 0.01 or something. Okay? With Bitcoin, if I gave you $1,000, whatever entity you're operating with, in theory, in a week, 2 months, that in theory, I'm just throwing numbers at you. In theory, that $1,000 could be worth what?
Is it interest bearing?
So I cannot give you a number, and
Right.
the reason for that is because I personally do not control the market.
Right. But I'm saying, what have you? All right, put it this way.
Maybe it's
Historically,
not.
what have you seen?
So
There's no history.
right. So there's
There's
no
no
track
track
record
record.
for stuff like this.
But they've gone up,
It's
right?
gone
fluctuated.
up and down,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
The people who control if the market goes up, the market goes down, they are billionaires. Okay, they have more money. They can manipulate. They can
Yeah.
manipulate the market. Okay,
That's a scary thing too.
it's a
right?
scary thing. There's no rules.
Yeah.
It's because it's unregulated. But
Yeah.
then the SEC right now, they're looking to finalize the rules for their ETFs.
Okay, and that means Earth, Wind, and what?
Electronic fund, electronic
Fund transfer funds.
no, ETFs are electronic. Essentially, it's a collection of different of different crypto assets.
Okay.
That can be sold to another party,
Okay,
and then they bear the returns and such. So right now the SEC is finalizing some regulations in regards to that, so that gives a little bit more transparency into how the market is, what the outlook of the market is going to be.
How is this not the world's biggest Ponzi or pyramid scheme?
This happened before. So initially, when this all happened, because things tend to happen in cycles, you guys probably remember this, the dot-com bubble.
The what?
The dot-com bubble.
right.
That was from 1997 to 2004, right? And an interesting thing happened. So the internet just started up, right? As in people actually starting to get on it. And then you saw the birth of Bill Gates, right? The world's richest man. And he had the first software company at the time. So people with money are looking at this, but like, okay, there's clearly something here because this guy is richer than everyone, and it didn't look like he tried hard, right? So there's something about this technology. We're going to try and put this on the internet. So all these companies were giving, in total, about $7 trillion, okay, in total, the entire bubble when it was at its peak. $7 trillion.
All these dot-com countries.
Right, to try and figure out how can you use the internet to make my business make more money, okay? And it popped, right? So what ended up happening is less than 1% of them actually end up surviving. But those companies that end up surviving are Google and Amazon and the tech giants that we know today, and they changed the face of our planet.
Right.
This is happening again.
But 99% of people lost out.
Oh, yeah.
So,
But if you bought Amazon and Google shares, you're great.
yeah, but then you're that 1%.
Yeah.
So, will that scenario happen again with Bitcoin or
Not Bitcoin.
cybercurrency?
With cryptocurrencies. So
cryptocurrency.
what is happening is they have this thing, an ICO, right, which is very similar to an IPO, initial public offering.
Right.
This is initial coin offering.
Right.
So with an IPO, it's usually a company that has a track record of performance, and then now they are about to go public, and they're going to have multiple shareholders, right? And an ICO, this is a company that has this idea, and they want you to buy into this product, representing that buy-in with these tokens, and that money is going to be used to build this product or service. So I give this analogy of buying movie theater tickets before the theater is even built, and then they use the money of everyone buying theater tickets to build the movie theater.
And in most times, it's not tied into equity. So you're not buying a piece of the company per se. You're buying into the underlying technology.
You bought a ticket. You didn't buy shares into
you're
the
not going
movie
to see
theater.
the movies. Yeah. It's still vague, and the reason I say it's vague is because it still seems pyramidish. And when you get in, is when you benefit, right? If you were the first ones in, you're benefiting.
You
How does the average guy know?
More.
Pardon?
You benefited the most.
The most.
Yeah.
How do you know that I'm now I hate to do this to you, the 1 millionth investor in Amway? I got all the products down on the shelf.
Good question.
And
So-
I'm not selling any of the products.
Okay, so there's this thing called a general product adoption curve that shows when new things are implemented, how does the cycle of these things work out, right? And if you look at the curve with this technology in place now,
Where are we?
we're still around the beginning. We're still around 12%.
Okay, all right. So after the show, that means I should give you some money.
That
'Cause I
is
need to get rich quick.
That's completely at your discretion.
If you feel inclined.
Yeah, that's completely at your discretion. So
They're so ungoverned, you can actually say that on the radio.
So one of the things you talked about was if you were to put money on Bitcoin and you waited 2-3 months, what would happen? Personally, I would not put my money on Bitcoin to hold, not in that position. No, I think a better position to take is you could look at some
spread?
of these. these projects, right? Don't try in being a trader, right? That's gonna the average person is not a really good trader.
Right.
The 1% of guys who drive Lambos because they trade, they deserve it. That is very hard. Okay? I think what you should do is you should invest. You should find a product that you believe in, that has a good team in, and you're investing in it. So you're in for the long haul.
Or a portfolio of products.
A portfolio of products is possible too, but most people don't have the money to go to a person to be a portfolio manager and manage their assets. Usually you have to be a high net worth individual, and you have to be retro ready to do something like that.
Retro ready. So it sounds like something from the Jetsons.
Go ahead. I wanted to shift the focus a little bit. I think right now it's not wise at all. I don't think it's wise to invest into the crypto asset market. I think it's wiser to invest in the underlying technology because that's where the value lies. The cryptocurrency, I mean, it's all like Jason alluded to. It's dictated by the wealthy, the top 1% within the market.
Right.
They have the power to manipulate it.
Right.
So it is right now when it's unregulated, it's a very dangerous territory for investors. You can lose your shirt, your pants, your drawers, everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but the technology itself is valuable. I think there are a lot of companies right now are identifying ways to improve their operation, to streamline their operation through the use of the underlying technology. Which I'm sure Jason is going to talk a lot more about. But yeah, that's the point.
How do you get involved in the technology? Individuals can do that, not just companies, right? Anyone can get involved in the technology.
Anyone could get involved in the blockchain. Personally, as Bobby said, the value is in the blockchain and not the cryptocurrency. Most people are interested in the currency component of it because they want to know how can you 10 times the money, Jason?
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Right.
But the blockchain technology itself is the real game changer.
Right.
So I would say if you could consider a situation where you need a trusted third party, for example, the banks in a situation like that, you could replace that trusted third party with the blockchain.
What was interesting to me, even just talking on the break with Bobby, is that he's saying that individuals are purchasing houses and Lamborghinis, like cars. But boy, I didn't know they were making such large purchases via this.
If someone wanted to invest in this technology, do they come to people like you and say, what are the projects you recommend? I mean, it's so unregulated. You know, it's like going to a stockbroker who doesn't have a certificate. I'm not saying you don't, but it's not regulated.
Right.
It's, you know, what was that movie with your boy DiCaprio?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, you know, it's like going to, you don't know who you're going to, right? At this stage of the game. Okay. Not that you're, not
right, but I understand the point you're making.
Because I'm not going to sit here and certainly endorse anything. I'm asking the questions.
Right.
How do people know where to go?
Right.
Okay. So there are platforms, ICO review websites, and there are teams of people that do due diligence and actually reviewing these products and making sure that they have teams in place, good teams with their backgrounds, they have very active communities, they have really good documentation and things like that, and they're also meeting their deadlines. Okay. So if people are doing what they're supposed to and it's in this public, transparent space, as long as they meet their deadlines, they're going to hit the goal.
What's a deadline? You mean the companies?
Yeah, the companies.
But me and Ken, we can't read that stuff. You have people like you read that stuff.
Right. So personally, what I do is with the technology we provide, because we're a blockchain technology company, right? Okay. We have people coming to us who want to do ICOs and they have these ideas and things like that, and they want to use the funding to do this, and that. Okay, great. We could provide the technology to actually get your project off the ground a lot sooner, making the tokens, providing wallets, smart contracts, all this good stuff, right? So that puts us in a very unique opportunity because we could determine how good is this project, is this a really good investment opportunity, and we're on it on the ground floor. So we have better opportunities to buy into it if we really want to step in behind it, and then we're confident on the project because we're providing the technology.
So you're providing the technology to people who are doing projects.
Yeah.
You know, for someone like me, that's hard to distinguish where the separation is.
I'll give you an example. So think of it like Legos, right? I love Legos. So you have these discrete pieces, and people are trying to make different things. But with Legos, you can make many different things out of the same pieces. So my job...
You're the Lego guy.
I'm the Lego maker right now. Okay. And I'm making the different blocks. So you tell me what you want, and I could say you need this, this, and this, and you click it like that, and that's what you need.
I'm still not there. What I thought you were saying is you own the Lego, and someone comes to you and says, I want to arrange Legos this way, right? The Lego is the technology,
Yes.
and you can look at that and say, oh boy, that's a good idea that he's doing arranging the Lego that way.
Yes, but the thing is, most people don't know what they want. So it's almost like people say, I want a car this fast, these features, but they don't know how the car actually works. So it's my job to understand what they want and pick the appropriate parts.
Okay.
I think each person should kind of find out whether or not you want to be a passive investor or an active investor. That's two different things. As a passive investor, you may be acting as a venture capitalist. You sort of do your due diligence and you pick companies to invest in, solely just getting a return on your investment, right? Whereas if you want to actually get involved in the space, you may want to talk to companies that are doing these things in the sphere and see, okay, how does my skill transition into your company that can provide these X amount of value in the space.
Automatically, I know we're going to need a crypto thing or whatever, part 2. But can we get Stefan in here? And so let's see what he has to say. We'll take a break, and we'll get Stefan here. We'll continue this conversation. But we're gonna this is intriguing at the least. We'll be back. Some deep stuff here. Too deep. Ken, it is very seldom. How long have we been doing this now? 3 years? Going in our fourth year.
Yeah.
Fourth year. And, I think we pride ourselves on being up on things.
Yeah.
We ain't up on this.
One of them.
Yeah, we ain't up on this because he said something when he meant to say 20% commission, and it was a different way of saying it, and I didn't know that. But listen, where do you see? This is an interesting question because I've been seeing these kind of statements about cryptocurrency and how the Bahamas can become a center and blah, blah, blah. We're losing our financial services industry on a daily basis by, exponentially, okay? Yeah. And it's just inevitable it'll be gone. Where can cryptocurrency, blockchaining, whatever the hell it is that you guys are talking about, where can they fill that void? How can they fill that void?
Can it?
A massive opportunity. So one of the things with me working in this space and me talking to international companies and things like that, they love the Bahamas. They had a massive event at Polycon in March, and I have never seen that much money in a single room in my entire life. Polycon.
Yeah, what's that?
So Polycon was an event that was hosted by Polymath, and that was the first securities conference for cryptocurrencies and blockchain in the world, and it happened at Baha Mar.
Okay, yeah. I don't talk about that much, but go ahead.
That was very interesting. So there
I saw it announced, though, yeah. And that was the first in the world?
First in the world.
Wow.
And in that room, there was, from what I took, it was probably more, about $7 trillion in a single room.
Yeah.
Right? And they all love the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Okay? They would love to stay here, but they can't because of
the lack of regulation.
How we do business. It's too slow, right?
Yeah.
They need something far more transparent, right?
Yeah.
We need to be very competitive. So when you look at us, you look at somewhere like Cayman, the same thing
They're moving at light speed, probably.
Same thing that takes 2 months here, they could get done there in 2 days.
Yeah.
So they don't want to stay here.
So let me ask you a question. Is this going to be? Are we going to miss the boat on this? You think?
It's not too late. What needs to happen is, as long as we have the right technology in the right places to at least garner the attention that we're actually doing something, and it will attract that much more money here. You have some of these coins, right, and cryptocurrencies. Their market cap is higher than their entire GDP.
Right.
Okay,
right.
And there's multiple coins like that that were here.
So what is it specifically? We've been dealing. This is a little bit more that we understand. We've been dealing with from the beginning of the show 3.5 years ago, with the issue of the ease of doing business. Now, it seems to me that this is a primary example of not diversifying, but certainly shifting the economy to take up where there's a gap, where there's a void. And what is holding it back is you can't get a work permit or you can't get a business license. Uncomplicated, non-technological things. What kind of force, and I'll ask Stefan this, I don't know if you're involved in this side of things, what kind of lobby force do you have to get this thing going?
You just throw him in. We know his involvement
Stefan,
with this.
You can tell us what
I guess I should
introduce
myself.
it. Yeah.
Stefan Delvaux. I'm the founder of the Caribbean Blockchain Alliance, and it's basically an advocacy group.
Okay, well, sorry, I was asking the right question, I guess.
Like an advocacy NGO, basically.
Okay, right.
And we're doing mostly trying to advocate for the use of the technology itself for different things in the region. Public-private sector stuff.
Right.
And also trying to get, more developers, people who can actually do the tech, people like Jason.
Right.
To come here, or people who are already interested in it can, build them up.
I'm deeply fearful that I don't know if you know the history, but the Bahamas many years ago had all of the captive insurance business. This is way before your time. 1 or 2 speeches were made, all of it fled to Bermuda. We've been trying to get it back since then. It's one of those things where it's gone. My thing is, I'm deeply fearful now that this is a golden opportunity. I don't know the impact it has economically, other than people building houses and things like that. Obviously, that's but that we will miss that opportunity. How close are you, and people like I know Donovan Moxley, we were talking about Donovan, how close are you, how much have you infiltrated government, like the Ministry of Financial Services, et cetera, to get them to understand this?
First, I'll explain on how golden of an opportunity this is. I don't think the average person understands. You have these foreign entities who are interested in the Bahamas for a very specific reason, right? They have all this money. They could go anywhere in the world. Why did they pick the Bahamas, right? They love the Bahamas. It's close proximity to the States, but it's our situation with our economy. It's our situation where we have enough money, the average person has enough money that you have a wide enough middle class and people can actually buy things, but things are stagnant to the point. You have a 0.5% GDP growth a year, but it's still to the point that if you did something worthwhile, you can measure it. Okay, if you were to do the same thing in the States, far more red tape, and you wouldn't be able to notice it because of the noise of everything else. Okay, so some of these entities have been willing to fund everything. They're like, we'll come in, we'll buy everything, like all the infrastructure, whatever it takes to actually make this successful. We just need the government. We just need the government to say, okay. And
actually, people I would say people reach out to both of us. Almost every day, trying to figure out. These are people who actually own companies.
Where are we from the government saying, okay?
So with the government, that's been my day job, talking to them and educating people and trying to get their heads to wrap around this. It seems that they understand there's an opportunity, and I think that they are scared in doing the wrong thing because they're going to be held accountable, and there's no set precedence. And at the same time, too, they don't know enough to be confident enough to actually make the move. And I think it's because they're not directly invested in the space.
Well, look, here's what I think. My job, I don't know if you're aware of this, is dealing with government on a regular basis. That's what my job is, public affairs. Governments will react over time to changes in the regulatory requirements, okay? So if the United States says, okay, well, this is happening, blah, 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 they'll make adjustments. What I'm talking about is, first of all, think back to the tax haven days, okay? In the tax haven days, a bank, all they knew was we didn't have income tax, and we had bank secrecy. So they just came in, open shop. As time went on, the government's regulations had to evolve to evolve in the changing market and to meet the requirements of the other marketplaces in terms of regulatory regimes and requirements. What I'm saying is, I don't think they should be going at this from what is this going to be, because they don't know. But the point that you're making in terms of ease of doing business, that can go away tomorrow. That has nothing to do with Bitcoin. That has to do with opening up a chicken shack. You know, I mean, if you want to open up a chicken shack, you got the same problem as you do for Bitcoin or cryptocurrency.
You know what's the great thing with this technology too? It is the thing that could set up the infrastructure and manage it. So it's just literally them just focusing on it initially long enough to get the ball rolling. But now when it comes to the rules and policies, you could hard code them into it and have people interface with it with like a contract, a smart contract. And it's trying to get around it. It's kind of like trying to argue with an ATM. You can want as much money as you want, but it's not going to work.
My friend, let me tell you, those guys need to come in here. They need to set up shop. They need to get past the red tape because they're doing it in Cayman, okay? And you can hire people to work with government to figure out things that they're afraid of.
They're doing it in Cayman. They're doing
exactly.
it in Barbados.
You can hire people for that,
Bermuda.
right? So the key is does the government understand a very clear thing? We want to grow the economy. A. B. We are losing by the day, by the hour, the financial services industry. This could exponentially replace that. Do they get that? Who is speaking to them on that level?
So there's two levels, right? So the government's actually very interested in this stuff, and they're hype about it. They love this stuff.
They understand it?
No, but that's okay.
To a small degree. Some of them get it. And so I don't know if you guys saw like maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, the government through IDB has actually been a huge driver of blockchain tech in this country too. They're doing this thing with blockchain and education for digital certificates and stuff like that. So that's a great use case. So the government itself, at least certain individuals, even up to the highest level, they're interested.
They're receptive.
And then, but on the other side, there's the issue of people coming in trying to start these companies. And the problem there is, even if the government's interested, there are multiple regulatory agencies, and they all have to kind of collaborate. Right.
But I also
come to
imagine
the same conclusion on stuff.
And I also imagine there's some KYC concerns because a guy who ordinarily couldn't get into a bank, all of a sudden he has his own bank called Bit something. And he just circumvented the whole system and washed all of his drug money in Bitcoin.
How did the banks feel about this cryptocurrency?
Oh man.
I would imagine this is going to disrupt their business to an extent.
I have been talking to them about this too, because one of the things we are doing is an exchange, and you need to have a bank so you can actually put the money in it, right?
You have to have a corresponding.
Yeah, I can't keep the money under my bed. That's not going to work out, right? So you definitely need.
But I thought
banks.
the money all existed in cyberspace.
Okay, so the crypto does, but I'm going to exchange this crypto for your Bahamian dollar, US dollar.
Okay.
I still need to keep that money somewhere.
Okay.
This is a physical asset, well, physical currency.
Yeah. So when I give you my $5,000, you got to be able to put that somewhere.
In a bank account.
And that bank account has to trade with a crypto company to get that.
Yes, the corresponding banking network, somewhere like in Switzerland.
And that's that's been the biggest problem in the Bahamas is corresponding banks.
Yes.
Because the banks in the U.S. specifically, more so in the Europe, say they're not going to deal with Bahamian banks if they don't do X, Y, Z.
Right.
And you have to have corresponding banks in order to get U.S. currency and buy product abroad.
And this problem's only going to get worse.
Say again?
That problem's only going to get worse. You're going to see more banks pulling out. You're going to see more, not just here and throughout the region. Yeah. Like banks are just going to leave.
Well, let me ask you a question. So, this is now getting like mafioso type stuff, right? Because what is happening is this, and maybe this is the way to bring these guys down. So the banks have held us by the balls for many, many, many years, right? Okay. Well, you know what? Suppose you just don't need them anymore. If the bottom line is if Ferrari says that the guy who owns the Ferrari dealership, if he can go to Joe Blow Real Estate and buy a house, right? If I buy my Ferrari in Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency, as long as he knows he can trade that for apples and houses and all that, he doesn't really care about the banks, does he?
That is true, but then the banks are still important for when he needs to purchase things from people who don't accept Bitcoin.
But there will become a point where,
yes,
listen, no one accepts wheat anymore. I mean, I'm just saying, it used to be where you could accept wheat, okay, but that's gone.
It'll just be seen as an asset or a currency or something like that.
I mean, it over time things change, but. Then we'll get back into the full circle about who's in the system again.
So you talked about the banks, right? So they understand that this technology is scary.
Is it a disruptor?
It is a massive disruptor, right? And with that being the case, one of the things I've been advocating to them is instead of you being disrupted, be the disruptor, right? You're in a position.
Shift.
Yeah. Like they could leverage this stuff, right? I give the analogy of what a phone was in the past is not the same thing that you have now, right? And it's the same thing. This technology is going to be here, and it's not going to make banks extinct. No.
I forget what I was thinking about the other day, but it was just so major that you just don't see them anymore. The technology shifted so fast, it just doesn't. The other stuff doesn't exist. The reality is, there's an all Harvard or business school case study that says, look. The people who used to be in the horse and whip, the horse buggy whip business, they're out of business because they didn't see themselves in the acceleration business. they saw themselves in the whip business. Okay. If they'd seen themselves in the accelerator business, they would have taken all the money they made from whips and invested in accelerators for Ford. But the reality is the banks now should be making that kind of shift.
Oh, yeah.
It's like shifting, if you're a power company, shifting from oil to gas or to solar or whatever. Otherwise, you're out of business.
I call it, this is like one of those Kodak type of moments.
Kodak. That's the company I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Just gone.
Yeah, and you know what's the funny thing is? They were the company that created the digital photos that we use today, and they just didn't use it.
And they didn't make the shift.
Yeah.
I think they probably thought, and this is what a lot of companies do, that they could control it, right? If they invented it, they could control it, and that way they could make sure that they weren't competed against with that product. They could get the patents. You know, there are many companies that create things and just freeze those patents so they can continue, because it's easier to continue on the path you're on. You don't have to invest more capital. You don't have to change job training, the whole thing, you know. Well, listen, guys, I think we're going to have you back. It is a massive thing. Rogan will probably be around. Ken, maybe. I don't know about him. I don't know if I'm going to be around when this seismic shift from wheat to currency. I was, from when people were trading wheat to currency, will be around. But it looks. My fear is, I just use these so that we don't get left behind. It's going to take guys like you.
It takes a shift in the culture.
But it's also going to take. The culture kind of follows, right? It means that there has to be people in the space, who are pushing this hard to the people who make the decisions. Listen.
Is it happening in other Caribbean
countries?
Cayman, I missed it because I was out of the office.
I was talking about Cayman,
Cayman,
beyond
Barbados,
Barbados
Bermuda.
is doing it.
Bermuda's doing a lot right
now. Well,
that's really...
both those countries, by the way, two of them are British colonies. Turks and Caicos probably doing it. It's like having a subdivision, and we do it all the time. You go into a developed place, the subdivision has the infrastructure in. Okay, you just plug in. Here, you build a house, you're looking for BEC to come run the wire for your electricity. You got to be on generator. So we have to make sure that you guys can find a way to push that infrastructure.
Yeah, I just wanted to say on that same note, this is why, like with the Alliance, it's so important to connect with these other countries that are doing it, because we're trying to do like a policy and research front. So you take all the, like Bermuda has their own bills for blockchain and crypto already. So you work with them, take what they're using, and just make sure everyone's kind of on the same page. So one country doesn't get left behind. We all move up together.
Well, see, why doesn't, and that's interesting, because since we're not leading, right? If Bermuda has this, if Cayman has this, that should already give some credibility. Right. We did it to them with tourism. Okay, we've had the tourism model. And then they all looked at it and scoffed at it, and then they realized this is big bucks, right? Why can't we look at those two markets specifically and say, hey, just let's go get their bills, let's do it and move on. Change the name to Bahamas.
There's a really big reason why you shouldn't do that.
Why?
So tourism is a lot easier to copy and paste, right? But now when it comes to the framework, if you just copy and paste the framework, why is someone going to pick the Bahamas over them?
Yeah. Or if I get that, but what is the difference?
You have to,
other than proximity,
like the foundation of the framework, and then change it as what your need is accordingly.
Like how do you tax things, the amount that certain people could have, maybe certain limit restrictions that aren't there, certain things like that.
I'm not talking about the differentiators.
That's important.
I'm talking about, I'm saying if the framework exists in other places.
The foundation.
In other words, it's not taboo.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. As opposed to this is the first place that's coming in. Yeah. They're doing it. It's okay if we do it. Get the foundation from them and see how we can improve on it.
And you modify it. Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, you're the new generation, because we don't understand. Well, I don't know about
How old are you, gentlemen, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm 27.
Yeah.
26.
Yeah, the hell with both of you. It's a many years to go, my friend. Listen, good luck to you. I have a feeling that we're going to hear a lot more about you guys. You're on the ground floor here. How many people are locally doing this stuff?
A fair amount. So what's been interesting, we have meetups every month.
You have a crypto club?
I mean, I'm not calling it a club. But basically, I'll just touch on it in a little bit before we leave. So our very first endeavor in this space is a cryptocurrency exchange, as I'm saying.
Okay.
And one of the things is we have a community, social networks, and things like that, and we have physical meetups, right? And with that, it's been interesting because you do this stuff behind the computer, you don't really know who's in the space. But when you actually have physical meetups, you see the people who are interested, their backgrounds. I am not saying hundreds right now, but I'm pretty sure it's probably around there.
Yeah.
Right? I've heard of people locally making millions of dollars off of Bitcoins. Yeah. I've heard of some lucky guy.
Have you made the millions off of Bitcoin?
I'm not saying
You're not
that.
saying, okay.
But
not saying that means
I know of individuals where they were lucky enough where they put money in at like 50,000 and they saw that mature to over $30 million.
Local.
Yeah.
See, my mistake was I was like, the technology school. I don't really want to mess with the currency stuff, and now I'm kicking myself.
Wow.
So Jason has the $30 million. Okay. All right. All right. Listen. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll talk to you some more. It's interesting stuff. Please keep in touch with us so we can, educate the public on what's going on. All right. Good having you.
Thanks for having us.
So
Thank you for having us.
All right.